All right, it's 4 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and begin. Thanks everyone for joining us, and thank you for accommodating this virtual session of the Marion City Council meeting for May 21st. I just want to start by thanking all the members of our team for pulling together and being prepared for whatever might have occurred with the storms. It's always hard to predict uh, what might happen, and I feel that we were just very, very well prepared. Everyone pulled together, and I know a lot of preparations had been taking place all day. So thank you to everybody for taking it seriously and doing what we can to make sure that our city would be safe uh, without knowing what might happen, and being prepared for all potential um, contingencies. So appreciate it very much on behalf of all the residents of Marion. So with our agenda this afternoon, we have a shortened agenda. Um, we are going to start with uh, uh, the presentation on the utility rates.
Thank you. The last time we touched on utility rates, we've covered all of the models related to the utilities. That was back in April. As you can see on the next slide, since that time, we have provided information out to the public at the April 20th showcase, and council also has been out at the farmers markets. And then on May 11th, the Marion Messenger went out to the households. So we wanted to touch base with City Council one last time today regarding the utility rates before we would bring forward a resolution in June that would amend the schedule of fees. On the next slide, I did provide for the public the actual detailed. On the left, the description is what actually reads on a utility bill, what the current bill would look like if you assumed 1,200 cubic feet of water usage in 2 months, and then what we have proposed in the rates with a short description off to the side of what has changed. I will turn it over to the mayor and city council.
Okay, are there any questions, concerns? No questions from council members?
Your
Oh, I'm
Honor,
sorry, I do. Yes, who has their hands raised there? Let's see.
it's
Grant,
me.
go ahead.
Yeah,
Yes, go ahead,
thank
Grant.
you. Leanne, what is the water excise tax?
That is a state mandated tax. It goes to a state fund. It's kind of like a local option sales tax, only it is a wet tax. I
And
shouldn't say a
then,
local option. It's like a sales tax for water, but it was replaced years ago with a wet tax. It goes specifically into a water fund at the state level.
does any of that come back to the city?
Not directly, no.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Leanne, were you looking for anything from this discussion or just to make sure there are no questions?
Just want to touch base with city council, make sure we're on the same page, as we'll be looking in June to bring the resolution forward that would approve and amend the fees.
Okay.
Yep. One last thing, Your Honor.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So in this, Leanne, this, I'm just looking at the components covered here. This doesn't depict then I'll say the effective new charge for yard waste pickup.
Correct. And that is intentional because right now we're talking about the changes that will take effect on July 1.
Okay.
So July 1, we will see that garbage rate increase from $20 to $26 monthly. The rest of those automated collection and that yard waste change will take effect in September is when we're proposing that changes in alignment with the automated collection.
Yeah, okay.
Makes sense.
Okay, thanks for that clarification.
Yep.
Okay, anyone else? All right, thank you, Leanne.
Thank you.
Um,
This is just a reminder that June 20th, then we would be putting the resolution on for city council to amend the schedule of fees.
all right. Appreciate the discussion well in advance of that date, so thank you. Okay, so I think our next item is going to be our agenda review. So we have two items that the staff had marked for discussion. Can we start with the first item? Who's handling that discussion?
I will be.
Hi, Brent.
Hi. So we wanted to bring this forward to City Council. We've already presented to Park Board last week for staff recommendation. And so this is what we did was we did an analysis of the different ice resurfacing machines that are available on the market today. And we worked with B32 Engineering Group, who is designing the ice ribbon for the Uptown, and got their recommendations, and then did our own research and compared different ice machines. So what we have here today are a standalone unit, which is the WM lithium battery operated ice resurfacer from LSK Enterprises. And that machine is 126,047. We also have what could be considered a backup machine, or a machine to be used at Thomas Park or other outdoor rinks, and that is an Olympia 250. So that is pulled behind a tractor, which the tractor we already own, so we would just need the resurfacer, and that unit is 20,510. So
Okay.
yep. So here's just a picture of an ice resurfacer. This is one of the examples of a battery operated unit. This one happens to be manufactured by Engo, and it's called the Ice Puma. Next slide. So some of the considerations that when we were evaluating is, would this machine work with the requirements that we have? So some of those requirements are the width of the ice, the turn radius of the ribbon, the amount of surface area that we have to resurface, and then also the considerations of the storage unit, or in the depot that we're going to be storing this unit. So some of those are the ceiling height, the overhead door height. Next slide. So when we consider all those things, we came down to a battery operated WM. The model is called a compact, so that's shown on your left, and then the tractor pull behind unit, which is an Olympia model, is shown on your right. So these are the two units that staff is bringing forward, and we recommend that council consider for approval. And I'll take any questions that you might have.
Okay, I see Steve has a question. We'll start with Steve and then Grant.
Yeah, Brent, my question is going to be, I looked at this over the weekend, but question I'm asking just hit me as I listen to you. when are we talking about getting delivery of this unit, of the compact unit, the drivable unit?
So the drivable unit is 6 weeks to produce and approximately another 6 weeks to make it over to the United States for delivery. So about 12 weeks total.
So when do we want delivery?
So I talked to our dealer and he can hold on to it for as long as we want. So if we don't want delivery until January, he can hold on to it till January.
Okay, so that brings me to my second question is why are we talking about delivery in 2024? Is it, my understanding is that the ice trail will not open up for the 24-25 winter and will not be open until maybe November of 25. So is there a reason we want to get this unit before the ice trail is opened up?
Yeah, that's a great question. So from the conversations that we've had is that it wouldn't be, the ice trail wouldn't be open to the public, but
Right.
that it would be operating. And so we want to have a chance to train staff on how to care for the ice. And because there's a steep learning curve for us, because it's an outdoor rink, which adds a whole nother layer on the maintenance part of it. And so we want to make sure that we're well ahead in that curve and that we already know how to make ice and resurface and get all the training down.
That's the first I've heard that plan. Yes, I see I would imagine there's going to be some citizen pushback if we're out there, if it's opened up, people see you working on it, they can't use it. So hopefully the amount of time that you're going to try to do that is minimized so that the public doesn't feel they got shortchanged on being able to use it this winter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from our discussions, internally, it is if we could open it up later in the year, we would open that to the public.
So you're saying there's a chance it may be open to the public part of the winter of say early 25.
That is correct.
And just
all right.
Sorry, if I can jump in really quick, we are planning on having an update to council June 4th. And if Kim, if I've got the wrong date, please jump in. But we're planning on having a status update on the Plaza project for council at the June 4th work session.
Oh, that's fine. I understand that, but my original understanding was it was not going to be open up, so that's why I was questioning timing of the purchase. So I understand that better.
Yeah, if I may, Steve, that is what Brent is saying is the conversations that we've been having. If we have that opportunity to open it up in January and or February, we would want to open it up as soon as we can, as long as we've got everything in place and we've got the equipment in place and we're geared up for it.
Well, if we can even give the public a couple of months of use of it, I mean, we've built up the excitement for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So if we can have it open for even a couple of months, I would certainly support that. Not that I'll be using it, but I'll support it.
I'm sure everyone wants to have it open as soon as it's feasible, so I don't think there's any argument on that. Okay, we'll go with Grant and then Gage.
Thank you. So Brent, is there a functional difference or a capabilities difference between these two units other than their mode of propulsion and portability?
Yeah, good question again. So one of the main differences between the units is that the Olympia model, the pull behind, it's a rudimentary, it's a basic, all of the adjustments that you make as far as the depth of the cut and the amount of water that's applied on it, those are all manual adjustments that you make. So you try to make those adjustments before you start resurfacing. Where on the other hand, these self-propelled units, those are all digitally made or made with electronically. So you can on the fly, adjust if you want, if you're making too much of a cut or not enough, you want to apply more water or less water. And then also the self-propelled unit has that edger brush. You can kind of see it in between the two tires. So what that does is that reaches out a ways on your left-hand side, and it'll groom up along the dasher boards, what they're called. So there are a lot more fine-tuning adjustments that you can make with the self-propelled unit, and then the other one is more. I make my adjustments. I go out, I drive around, and then I come off, and then I dump my ice shavings.
So the self-propelled one is going to be dedicated to the ice loop, and we would only use the pull behind if for maintenance reasons that was necessary to put that in use down there.
That's correct.
Okay.
So yeah, in the research that I did, and then talking to other park districts and just rinks around the state and then the country, they all own at least 2, if not 3 ice resurfacers. So that seems to be best industry practice, is to have a redundant system in case one goes down and you have to wait for parts. Then you can still operate the ice.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Kate?
Yeah. Brent, so with the pull behind unit, since we're getting that as well, I'm guessing there's been discussions about potentially expanding some of the ice activities around the community, just like we have Thomas Park and we flood that and make that into an ice skating rink. Have the parks team been talking about other potential locations at other parks that we could do that in the winters now, since we'll have that unit too?
We've actually kind of within the department, we've identified Prairie Hill Park as another good candidate, because again, we have the large concrete area with the basketball court that we could buy a liner with boards and then flood that area also. So I think that would be a good candidate as well.
Well, yeah, I just think that would be great. I feel like when we have the ice skate loop open, especially with its potential busyness when it first opens, people are going to drive by and be like, oh, that looks a little full. Where else can I go? And so I think it would be good to have, a couple options for people. I have a feeling ice skating is going to get pretty popular when the loop first opens.
Yeah. Good point.
Okay. Any other questions on that item? My question is, I think I understood this purchase is under what we had budgeted.
That's correct.
It's good to bring that out. That's a good result. Always nice when we can be under budget.
Yeah.
Great. Any other questions? All right, so this will be on the agenda for Thursday. And then what's the next item, Rachel? Okay. This is the ordinance regarding the ATEs, amending our ordinance. So who's going to handle this one?
That'd be me. Can you see me and hear me?
Hey, Chief. Yes,
How
we
are you?
can.
Good. Hey, as you know, the state legislature was looking at a bill to regulate ATEs here in the state. Governor Reynolds actually signed the regulation bill on Friday, and it took effect on Friday. We were initially believed it wasn't going to take effect until July 1st, but it actually went into effect last Friday. Because of that, we've got to make some tweaks, some minor tweaks to our ordinance to match up the language with what's in the new state law. Again, this regulates just the stationary ATE speed cameras. So that would be 13 and 151 and East Post and Highway 100. It does not apply to red lights, and it only applies to stationary systems that are on primary roads maintained by the DOT, which again would be our 2 stationary ones that we have. Rachel, can I change this? Oh, look at that magic. So the new requirements, again, we're in pretty good shape because everything we did when we went through the process to see if ATEs were right for us is pretty much what's in this regulatory bill. Existing programs like ours, we have to apply for a permit by July 1st, and I'm working on that. The justifications are listed here on the slide. But again, these are the same data points that we used when we went through the process last year before council approved it, and we started our cameras back in September. Once we submit our permit application, the DOT has 90 days to approve it. I think that they're still working out that process on where that's actually going. We haven't been told yet where in the DOT we're supposed to send it, but as soon as we find out, we'll get it to them. Per the law, we can continue to use our cameras up until the permit is issued or denied. There is a possibility DOT could come back and want additional data. That's in there. I don't know that that's going to happen or not, but I think we're pretty good overall. One of the changes we're going to have to make in the ordinance, again, to show you that just the nature of them, is in our original ordinance. It said the city council will approve any stationary ATE systems erected in the city of Marion. We're simply going to add stationary ATE camera locations will be approved by the Iowa Department of Transportation and the city council, to just kind of give you an idea. Can I get the next slide, Rachel? So the other thing that this did is it sets the fine schedule. So part of what they were trying to do was to be consistent across the state on what people were doing for fines. We had to drop ours that we had the 5 to 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. We had that in our fine schedule. You remember when we put that in there, it was because it was in the state code for traditional speeding tickets. So we thought it was important to mirror that. Our intent was never to cite anybody for going less than 11 miles an hour over the speed limit, and we have not done that, but it was in there, so we've taken that out. We're also changing. We had our fine for driving 31 miles per hour or more in a construction zone. We had 750. Under this new code, they raised it to 1,000, and so again, we want to stay consistent with what they're telling us. So I put that in there. Again, no citations will be issued unless they're going 11 miles per hour over the speed limit. We were already doing that. We have to publish an annual report and submit it to the DOT, and we also have to put statistics on our website, which once again, we're already doing that. They go on there monthly. They're in your council report, and they're also on our website. And then they dictated that the proceeds go to either road repair or public safety. Again, we were ahead of the game. Our proceeds go to public safety here in Marion. The other thing that was in there was signage. They had distance requirements for signage. Again, it's pretty much what DOT had recommended in the past. We followed that when we put ours out. Our vendor is going to go out and double check those just to make sure no citations are being issued in the interim until this is changed. And we've got some backroom processes we have to change as well. Next slide, please. Again, what it does not apply to: red lights, the mobile speed unit, it does not apply to, and any stationary units not on primary roads, but we don't have any of those here. Once you apply for a permit, it's for the city. If you would choose down the road and say we wanted to add more stationary units, we would have to go back to the DOT and justify those as well, but we haven't got any of those in the works right now. Next slide, please. So again, the specific changes, we're going to add the language regarding Iowa DOT approval for placement of stationary units along with city council. We're going to adjust our fine schedule to mirror what's in the new state code. We're also going to add language. They put a passage in the new state law that says that we have to allow a vehicle owner to present evidence of who was actually driving the vehicle. and I'm guessing it was intentional. We're required to put that language in that we have to allow them to present evidence, but it doesn't say then that we're mandated to redirect the citation to anybody else other than the owner of the vehicle. Now, we've already been doing that. If somebody comes forward and says, hey, my car was at Bob's Auto Shop getting repaired and the mechanic took it out and took it for a test drive and ran a red light, if the owner of Bob's will call us and say, yep, it was my guy driving or I was driving, here's my address, I'll take the citation. We have been redirecting those. What we don't want to do is get into a position where the owner of the vehicle says, well, it was my cousin Tim and he lives at 123 Main Street. So we send the citation to cousin Tim and cousin Tim says, nope, it wasn't me. It was my brother, Grant, who lives at, 125 Johnson Street. So as long as we've got the owner of a vehicle and they've got the actual driver and the other drivers willing to admit, yes, it was me, please send me the ticket, we'll do it. Otherwise, it's the owner's responsibility to collect that money. One more slide. So the next steps, again, we've submitted the ordinance changes. We'll make any appropriate changes to the ATE policy that the city uses, which again is going to be those minor language changes, and it'll submit our application for a permit to the DOT by July 1st. Normally, this would, it's an ordinance amendment or a change. It would require 3 readings. I would ask that the council consider maybe waiving the other 2 because these are minor changes, and we're kind of at a standstill until this is done. But again,
well, and they're changes to comply with the state code, so they're not. It's not like we can not make them. Correct? I mean, they need to be made. So yeah, okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I did pull some numbers up just from the first 3 months the last 3 months of 2023 and the first 3 months of 2024, just to show. And again, it's a small data set. We're still early on, but during that time, the red light citations went down 30% in 2024 from what we saw the last 3 months of 2023, and speeding violations went down 33%. So I think they're working. I think they're having an impact. We're going to include all that in our permit application to DOT. Again, it's a small data sample, but it's encouraging because they're doing what we hoped they would do. And any questions?
Thank you. Okay, so I see Steve has a question, and then we'll go with Grant after Steve.
Okay, Chief, one of the, by the way, I totally support doing the 3 readings at once. But my question is, you talked about that the dollars must be used either for road repair or public safety. Does our ordinance right now include both or only public safety?
It's in our policy. It's not in our ordinance. When we wrote the city's policy, we put public safety in the policy. And so we would keep that unless you or Ryan tells me to put in road repair. I don't see a reason to change that.
And the only reason I bring it up is if we include them both, that would mirror state law just was approved. And although the intent going forward would be to keep it for public safety, it seems it might allow more flexibility in the future if it's ever needed for any reason. So I'm just also trying to suggest that just because it does mirror what the state law was worded as well. That's the only major reason I'm suggesting it anyway.
Yep, that makes sense.
Any other? Oh, Grant, sorry. Go ahead, Grant.
Yeah, Chief, I've got a question, but I needed a clarification on that example that you were describing about, how a citation gets paid where it's somebody else driving. Did that happen to be a 2020 black Mustang GT?
No, sir, it did not.
Okay.
It did not.
All right, now for the serious part of what I was interested in. So in sum, the new state law doesn't have any bearing on our mobile unit and our enforcement on residential streets, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I've expressed that I think on our residential streets that 10 over being our threshold is a little high. So we still retain our own latitude to decide how we want to invoke that residential enforcement. I just want to have it clear in my mind that that's what we can do.
I think the reading of this is they don't want them issued for anything under 11 miles per hour over the speed limit. But they're talking about the stationary cameras. I think we could create some bad case law if we went below that using the mobile unit. I think that may be troublesome if we were to do that. I know when the Chiefs Association, when we were working with the legislatures on this regulatory bill, that was one of the concerns we had was school zones and residential streets, that 11 miles an hour is a lot. You know, when you're in a 25-mile-an-hour zone, 11 is an Indy car, you know, especially with pedestrians and everything else. And we didn't get any traction with that argument. So I would suggest that we keep it at 11 until we know for sure that we could go lower on residential streets. But my fear would be is creating some bad case law or getting a ruling by a judge that would be disfavorable.
Okay, you've effectively disabused me of that notion, so I'll not bring it up again. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay. Sarah, go ahead.
Real quick, this may be obvious. Because of the change in the language that somebody can admit that it was them driving, that doesn't change the fact that it doesn't go on the insurance.
No, it doesn't get reported to state. It doesn't go to insurance. It's strictly a civil citation between the city and the owner of the vehicle or the driver.
Okay. Interesting.
And I guess we should ask, is there anyone who would be opposed to the 3 readings being done at once? Just for the staff's purposes, so they can arrange the agenda appropriately. Is there anyone who would be opposed to that? Any council member? Okay, great. Anything else, Chief?
No, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, so then we will take any questions now on any other item on the agenda. In addition to those 2 items that staff wanted to discuss, are there any other items on the agenda that any council member would like to discuss? Okay, seeing that no one has any questions, does staff have anything before we adjourn this part of the meeting and go to the closed session?
Mayor, if I can,
Yes,
really
sir.
quick.
Yeah, go ahead,
Thank
Ryan.
you. Just for any members of the public that are watching, the items that how we're gonna address the items that were on the work session, the presentations from Trees Forever, Horizons, and Cedar Rapids Transit. Those presentations will all be found as receive and file on the agenda that's going to get published for Thursday. As will the proclamation for Public Works Week. The promotion for Officer Paulson to Sergeant, we'll reschedule that for a date, a later date. And then the presentation for the sidewalks, we'll reschedule that for a different meeting time. But just so members of the public can figure out where these are, where they can find them. And what to expect on those items.
Okay, any questions for Ryan on that? All right, so that brings us to the conclusion of the regular work session, and we will take a motion to adjourn the closed session.
I'll do it. Mayor, I make a motion to adjourn a closed session regarding real estate transactions as permitted under section 21.51J of the Code of Iowa, and this is two separate matters.
Second,
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to adjourn to closed session regarding real estate transactions as permitted under the Code of Iowa. Are there any questions or discussion before we vote? Maybe have the legal counsel statement, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have reviewed the proposed subject matter for the closed session and find the same to be appropriate under Iowa Code Section 21.51J.
Okay, thank you, Kara. Rachel, can we have the roll call, please?
Mr. Harper,
yes.
Mr. Jensen,
Yes.
Mr. Miskman,
Yes.
Mayor Abu-Wassili,
Yes.
Ms. Menzer,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Mr. Sterned,
Okay. Well, we have a majority. So the motion passes and we are now adjourned to closed session. Thank you everyone for joining us. We will terminate this session and then use the special link for the closed session. Thank you all.